Every institution has one. A repository that was built with real effort, blessed at launch, and then quietly abandoned. Nobody updates it, nobody trusts it, nobody is sure who owns it. You can build everything we've covered in this series. The discovered procedures, the lifecycle, the learning loops, the activation layer that delivers context to every tool. And you can still end up with shelfware. Build all of this without accountability, and you have not built infrastructure. You have built another unloved repository. The difference between infrastructure and shelfware is not the technology. It is who owns it, who challenges it, and who checks that the owning and challenging actually happen. That is governance. And it is the fifth and final capability. A quick recap, then we finish the build. Across this act, we drew one control loop. Discovery captured what was never written down. The development lifecycle gave context, the discipline of code and models. Learning loops promoted experience into attested knowledge. Activation delivered it, entitlement aware, to every consumer. 4 capabilities, and they all signified something. This episode is the ring around them, the part that makes the loop trustworthy. Let's name the 5 concerns it has to keep alive. Governance of context comes down to 5 concerns: quality, drift, lineage, versioning, approval. Here is the thing to hold on to. These are not 5 boxes you tick once at launch. They are 5 things that have to stay live, continuously, across the entire graph. And not one of them is new to your institution. Each maps cleanly onto a discipline you already run. Let's take them one at a time. Concern 1, quality. The question is simple. Is this definition, or this procedure, attested by an accountable owner, and has it been tested against real cases? Attested means a named person stands behind it, not a team, not a tool, a person who is accountable when it is wrong. Tested means it has been run against actual scenarios. The business hits, not just admired in a document. A definition that has never met a real case is a hypothesis. This is the same discipline you already apply to a model or a control. Quality is owned and quality is evidenced. Concern 2, drift. A definition can be perfectly correct the day it is approved and quietly wrong a year later. Because the world moves underneath it. Regulation changes, policy changes. The business itself changes. A new product, a new entity, a new cross-border rule. The definition didn't change. Its truth did. That gap is drift, and nothing catches it automatically. So you do what you already do with policies and with entitlements, you review on a cadence, and you recertify. Periodic recertification is the control that turns "we approved this once" into "we still stand behind this today." No recertification cadence, no defense against drift. Concern 3, lineage. 2 questions. Where did this originate, and what depends on it downstream? We drew this back in episode 3. Committed exposure connects up to its golden source systems, the policy that governs it, the procedure that produces it, the owner who attests to it. Lineage is not decoration. It is what lets the second line and internal audit trace any AI output back to its authoritative basis. And it is what tells you the blast radius before you touch anything. Origin upward, dependencies downward. Governance needs both, live. Concern 4, versioning. 2 capabilities here. Can we roll back? And can we detect when 2 systems disagree because they are running different versions? Rollback is the obvious one. A change goes bad, you revert to the last known, good version. Same as code. The second one is subtler, and it is where episode 9 comes back. Remember propagation. A definition change has to reach everything downstream. When it doesn't, you get 2 systems on 2 versions of the same truth. They will confidently give different answers, and without version tracking, you will waste a week arguing about whose number is right, when the real answer is you are on different versions. Versioning makes that visible instead of mysterious. Concern 5, approval. 2 questions that decide whether this is governed or just hopeful. 1. Who can authorize a change that affects multiple lines of business? When committed exposure means the same thing to Treasury and to finance, somebody has the authority to change it for both. That authority has to be named. 2. Who certifies a new procedure as safe for reuse? Discovery and the learning loops produce candidates. Approval is the gate where a candidate becomes canon. And across both gates, the rule this series has held from the start: AI drafts, tests, and simulates. Humans approve. Remove the human from approval, and you remove effective challenge, and with it, defensibility. 5 concerns named. Now, who owns them? 5 live concerns need a clear ownership structure. You already have one. It is the 3 lines of defense, and it maps onto context cleanly. First line owns and produces context. The business. The people who define committed exposure, who write the alert disposition procedure, who attest to quality. They own the content because they own the work it describes. Second line sets the standards and challenges. Risk and governance define what good looks like, the recertification cadence, the approval matrices, the propagation policy, and they push back. They are the effective challenge. Internal audit verifies the loop operates, not whether one definition is right, whether the whole machine runs. Are owners attesting? Is recertification actually happening? Are approvals real? Audit's job is to confirm that the first two lines are doing theirs. That is the accountability that turns a repository into infrastructure. Now the observability half, and this is where most institutions get it wrong. Governance is not a binder you open once a year for the audit. By the time you open it, the drift has already happened, the version skew has already shipped, the bad answer has already gone to the board. Observability means the 5 concerns are instrumented, monitored live, quality status, drift signals, lineage, version conflicts, pending approvals, always on, always visible. And this matters. It feeds your existing risk committee and board reporting, not a parallel governance structure nobody reads. The same reporting lines you already trust, now with context on them. Live, not annual. That is observability. We have carried one card through this whole series. The questions an examiner or internal audit will ask, here it is in its final form. Who approved this? The approval gate answers it. What is its lineage? The lineage graph answers it. What depends on it? The downstream edges answer it. When was it last reviewed? The recertification date answers it. Early in the series, an institution could not answer any of these. Context lived as scattered prompts and team decisions. Governed, everyone has an answer a live system can produce on demand. That is what turns AI from a supervisory concern into a defensible capability. So let's name the misconception this episode kills. The misread is this: governance is a final approval gate at the end. Build the thing, then someone signs off before it ships. That is wrong, and it is the expensive kind of wrong. A gate at the end catches nothing that drifted after it. It cannot see version skew between two systems. It does not recertify. It does not monitor. Governance is not the last step. It is 5 live concerns: quality, drift, lineage, versioning, approval, running across the entire loop, owned through 3 lines of defense, monitored continuously. A gate fires once. Governance never stops. And with that, the loop is closed. Governance is what ties the others together. It is lineage from episode 3. It is the versioning that catches the propagation problem from episode 9. It is the approval that governs the delivery reach from episode 11. 5 capabilities. 1 control loop, the build is complete, which leaves exactly 1 question. Here is where we are. The whole anatomy is built, and the control loop runs. We have the build. The next question is the one that sinks most programs. How do you adopt it, domain by domain, without failing? That is next. I'll see you there.